What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Commerce Combine. Today we're going to be talking about the Google Analytics certification. Now, this is a very easy certification test. Really, it's not hard, but you do need an 80% in order to pass. So you're going to have to actually know something about it. This is not the kind of test where I can tell you all the questions, tell you all the answers, because there are way too many for you to actually memorize. If you're the kind of person that when you were in school could look at a study guide the night before a test and ace it the next morning, fine. Really, you don't need this video. I can't help you. Nobody can, because you've got it. You can handle this. But I know most of us were not that lucky. And so I'm going to actually be taking you through Google Analytics, through all the most important pieces of it, and show you how to actually learn it. And that way you can know the answers to things as you're taking the test. There's no memorizing, okay? That's not how you actually, it doesn't prove anything. The whole point of getting the certification test is to prove that you are experienced in this, that you're knowledgeable about this. So if you want to get this overnight, I'm not even going to try to help you. But if you want to get it and you want to genuinely understand what you're talking about after you have it, you're going to want to stay tuned. There's something called the Google Analytics demo account, and this is really important. This is actually what I'm going to be showing you because it gives you all the data for the Google Analytics account for the Google Merchandise Store. Basically, Google Merchandise Store has an analytics account that is fully blown out with all the features. It's completely developed, and they give you access to all of the data. It is amazing. And if you've been in Google Analytics before, you know that there are so many data points, and you can't possibly remember every single one or what they all mean. And so I'm going to show you how to actually start doing. I talk about this a lot on the channel, to start doing in digital marketing, meaning to actually get experience, whether somebody's paying you to do it or not. It is so easy for you to actually dive into a real account, look at real data, and start to learn the ins and outs of Google Analytics. And that is the way you are going to pass the test. So we are going to actually jump into that demo account right now. Okay, so you're going to want to start out by going to Google and searching for the Google Analytics demo account. And what this is going to do is bring up a result here called demo account. Now, this is a great way to just sort of learn by experimenting with data from the Google Merchandise Store, okay? So once you get to this page right here, you're going to scroll down to the section called Access the Demo Account. And right down here, you're going to see Access Demo Account. You're going to click that, and you're going to install it into your existing Google Analytics account. So you're going to have a Google Analytics account set up already, but once you do that, you will have access to the Google Merchandise Store data. So in here, again, this is a fully blown out analytics account that has all kinds of data and is going to allow you to apply the data points to real life situations. And that's really important for the test, because a lot of questions when it comes to Google certifications is that they have you answer questions that apply to real life situations. So I'm going to take you through this. I can't take you through every single data point because there are just way too many and I don't want to bore you, but I am going to show you the high level things and show you how to understand what everything means. So we're not going to worry about the home page here. It's sort of just a dashboard that has a lot of different things. We're going to actually dive into these separately. First, we're going to start off by talking about this customization section here. Dashboards, okay? There are custom reports, custom dashboards that you can create, and you can see that for the Google Merchandise Store, they actually have some dashboards already set up. So, for example, we're going to look at this dashboard called SEO Performance, where this dashboard is focused on SEO performance for this merchandise store. They can see all kinds of data set up related to SEO. Now, this is not a template that Google Analytics gives you. You can actually go in and create all of these boxes yourself. That's the beautiful thing. I'm not going to get into how to do that because the Google Analytics certification test is not going to quiz you on that, but do understand that custom dashboards, custom reports are a thing in Google Analytics, and that you have the opportunity to sort of create your own dashboards here to easily find information on more of like a daily or weekly basis when you want to come in and get a high-level overview of what's happening on your website. First, let's dive into the real-time reports. This is where you can see the number of people on the website right now. So for example, at this very moment, there are 49 people visiting the Google Merchandise Store, and we can see how many of those users are on desktop and how many of them are on mobile. Plus, we can see the web pages that they are on right now. For example, 4 of the active users are on the home page, and we can see the other web pages where those users are at. Plus, we can see the top locations for the users on the web page. This is pretty cool that you can actually dive into what cities specific users are in. So when using Google Analytics, understand that these are a couple of your options. And how you can sort of use that to your advantage. So again, I'm not going to go too deep into each thing, but what I want you to understand is that there are all these different data points, and for every data point that you don't know what it means, here's what you should do. Hover over the data point, and it is going to define it for you. Okay, so for example, I hovered over the users data point. For example, if you don't know what they mean by users, hover over it, and they will define it to say that users, these are people who have initiated at least one session during the date range. The date range being right up here, and you can select, you can change this to say, right now we're looking at a week's worth of data. Let's say I want to look at a whole month worth of data. I can change that there, and it changes all the data in here. So we can see that in the last month, there were 52,000 users who came through to the Google Merchandise Store, right? And so again, you have all these different data points, and you can learn what they mean simply by hovering over them. This is the best way to learn. You're gonna understand it, and you're gonna learn it. You're gonna remember it better by sort of doing it this way than trying to just read over a study guide and memorize it for the course. Doesn't make any sense to do it that way. Okay, actually look at some real data here and think about how this applies to the business. For example, you might look at bounce rate. You might say, I don't know what that means. Hover over it, see the definition here to understand that it's the percentage of single page sessions in which there were no interactions with the page, meaning somebody came on here and they didn't interact with the page. They came onto the site and they left the site. They didn't go to any other web pages. They didn't add anything to their cart, nothing like that. So their bounce rate is 42%. Of course, the lower, the better, because that means people are coming onto your site and then they're interacting with it. They're adding something to their cart. They're going through to a different web page, okay? As you start to really think about these different data points like that, it's going to help you remember it better, and it's going to make the test so much easier because they're not just going to ask you, what does bounce rate mean? They're going to actually have you apply bounce rate to real life situations in order to answer questions. So I'll take you through, this audience category first. Demographics, we're talking about things like age and gender. So, I'll show you real quick how that works. Again, you can see, the percentage of users who were between the ages of 18 and 24, between the ages of 25 and 34, and the percentage of users who were males and females. And what's really cool is that, if you change the date range, understand that that data is then going to change, right? So the percentages here might change, right? So understand the different ways that you can sort of manipulate the data and change it up. Interests. So quick overview here. One thing to understand is affinity categories. So, the Google Merchandise Store may see that a lot of the people coming onto their site are value shoppers, right? Now, that may be their exact strategy. Their strategy may be to have competitive pricing and bring in value shoppers through their marketing outside of the website. And in this case, it would tell them, wow, we're doing a fantastic job at bringing in the right people. But they and let's say that your website charges premium prices and the number one group of people coming through to your website are value shoppers. And let's also say that you have not been meeting your sales targets. That may be why, right? That you may find that the wrong people are coming to your website, or perhaps you have a product that value shoppers really like, but you're charging way too much. And so you realize perhaps we need a different pricing strategy. So These are real-life applications for this kind of data. Understand that affinity category means that Google Analytics views these people, they categorize these people in a certain way based off of their behavior outside of your website, their behavior on Google, and their behavior on other websites that they shop through. So a lot of different ways to break down interests. Understand that exists because you will be quizzed on that in the Google Analytics certification test. Language. So you can see the different languages, and here's what's really cool. You can break down languages by all these different data points. For example, we see that there are American English speaking users, and that they spend they convert. Let's say their conversion rate is a certain conversion rate here, right, 0.19%, but people in other languages are not converting the same, right? So that may tell Google, the Google Merchandise Store, that their website needs to better speak to these other languages, for example, or perhaps that their products, maybe there are cultural differences, right? And so their products may speak better to Americans rather than people from these other countries. And so to better optimize their website, they may want to choose they may want to expand their product offering in order to better influence these other cultures to buy something. So these are just examples. I don't know any of those to be the truth about the Google Merchandise Store, but just using the data to show you that these are how you can apply data points to real life examples. There's never been an easier time than when they give you the real life data, right? So again, you can see the number of users coming through who speak all these different languages, and then make optimizations based on that data. And again, if you don't know what any of those things mean, if you don't know what they mean by new users, hover over it. This is how you learn Google Analytics, is by actually looking at real data, having them define it for you, and then applying that to real life situations. That is how you will remember it, and that is how you will most easily pass the test. It is going to take time. You're not going to remember everything overnight this way. It is not a pass it the next day type of approach, but you will come out of it with a real understanding of Google Analytics. Because if you tell people that you have a certification from them, they're gonna want to know what you know, and to just cheat your way through is not going to help you. But to actually understand what you're talking about afterwards is really useful. So, for example, same thing here. You may see users from all the different countries, and then use these other data sets to understand how the site is performing. For example, people coming from America have a much lower bounce rate than people coming from India. So again, they may want to make optimizations that lower the bounce rate for people coming from India. And there could be a lot of different reasons for that, but this is a way for you to look at the data and say, and come up with your own reasons for why that may be happening. Because first of all, that's what you have to do on the job, and that's what you're going to have to do during the Google Analytics certification. And there are a lot of different ways that you can do this. I mean, there are so many different categories of data here. I really can't take you through all of them. But let's say you're looking at traffic and you want to understand what they mean by source and medium. These are, this is definitely an important term that you'll have to understand. Source and medium, again, describes where your traffic comes from. So the source is the place where users are before seeing your content, like perhaps they're on a search engine before visiting your website. And the medium describes how users arrived at your content. So, if somebody was on a search engine, and Google being the source, then the medium would be organic if they came through from an unpaid result in Google. And so this is important because, again, you can see how many users are coming through organic search and how many people are coming through Google pay-per-click advertising right here with the CPC source and medium. And next, I want to go through the secondary dimensions. This is a way, so we have our main data point here, right, being source medium, and then we have these other secondary data points that we can apply to it. The secondary medium is a more custom way for you to apply a secondary data point to the main data point. So, for example, let's say that you are looking at
this, where people came from to your website, and you want to see the dates that those people came here, and you want to apply then the other information to that. So for example, to pull this together, let's say that you see people coming in through organic search, and that on these days, people are much more let's say that on this day right here, people are much more likely to convert than they are on this other day, right? So that means that, so if this was not organic and we were actually looking at cost per click, we were looking at paid advertisements in Google, then this would show you, and you saw that you had higher conversion rates on certain days compared to other days. That would tell you that perhaps you don't want to advertise on those other days, and you'd rather funnel that money into the days when people are most likely to convert, because that's when you're going to see more profitable ad campaigns and more revenue generated from your ad campaigns. So this is an example of how you can use secondary dimensions to better analyze your data, and how you can connect the dots in terms of real life situations and really understand each of these data points. But again, there are so many data points, I can't tell you about all of them, and you certainly can't memorize all of them, which is why it's so important to start experimenting and just sort of dive into Google Analytics. And look, if you start going through this and you start to feel like this is too time consuming or overwhelming, or you start to feel anxious because it's just so much, this is not for you. Getting the Google Analytics certification is not going to help you, because in all honesty, you probably shouldn't be bothering. If you're getting the Google Analytics certification, it's probably because you want to prove something to your employer or to potential clients that you know what you're doing in here. And if you can't actually work through the account, through the data, you're not going to have a good time doing it for other people. So start doing and see if you really enjoy this, okay? Because if you start going through here and you're not having a good time, don't even bother getting the certification. In all honesty, I don't mean to put you down, but I'm being serious that there are a lot of things to learn in here in order to make the test feel a lot easier. And if you don't have a fun time with it, you're not going to have a fun time when there's pressure on you to answer questions within Google Analytics. So really consider all of these things. Conversions are one more place that I want to go through. This is where you're going to find information related to e-commerce and related to goals. I'll go through each of those real quick. E-commerce being that you can see the actual revenue generated by the merchandise store. You can see the conversion rate. Again, if you want to know what conversion rate means, hover over it and it will define it for you so that you can better apply it to real life situations. And goals. Goals are definitely something you're going to have to understand for the test. Goals are basically a way for you to understand specific actions taken on the website. So if you want to understand, so listen, I mean, they can define it for you, being really just a conversion, and it's more of a custom sort of conversion where you can set up goals for anywhere in your site, any action on your site. For example, let's say that you have a goal of getting people to fill out a registration form or a contact us form so that you can generate leads, right? Then you would use the goal complete. You would use a Google Analytics goal in order to see the number of people who filled out that registration and the people who abandoned that action, right? So for example, you would see the total number of goal completions, the total rate, the conversion rate for your goal, the abandonment rate for your goal, all kinds of different data. You can dive into what all of these mean simply by hovering over them. It really doesn't make sense for me to dive into them because you're not going to memorize them just based off of what I tell you, which is why it's so important for you to download the Google Merchandise demo account and really start learning on your own.
So I hope this video was useful for you in learning about the Google Analytics certification. If this video gave you any value, smash that like button. And if you want to join a community of millennials sharing the journey through business, money, and success, click subscribe right below this video. I post new videos every week, so if you want to be part of that, again, click subscribe. And be sure to hit that notification bell so YouTube notifies you every time I put up a new video.